Well, good morning. Bank holiday morning, West Ham fans. Has David Moyes' fate been sealed? Yes, everybody, Russell West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well. Happy Monday, happy Bank Holiday Monday. It's going to piss down, that's for sure, because it's Bank Holiday Monday. And it was pissing down goals as well at Stamford Bridge yesterday. And that's what we're going to talk about today. About that and talk about Fabrizio Romano, who's come out and basically said that David Moyes' fate has been sealed, and talk about Lopetegui and all that type of stuff. But obviously, I'm not going to talk to myself in an echo chamber. I'm going to talk to my main man. He was lucky enough to miss the watch along today. Saying Tom Baker.
To be honest with you, Russ, like after doing the kind of 5-0, the 5-2 games.
Which one? Which one? Look, which one?
No, mate,
which one?
know. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to look at that. Like, honestly, it's really bad. And to think that we are defensive side, and I've listened clearly to David Moyes' comments about saying that we play, like, we put too many forward players on, and we should. And I'm like, what? What the fuck?
He's lost the plot today.
And I do feel like he is like
clutching.
Clutching, and there's excuses. And the Declan Rice thing really finished me off. It really finished me off because I was like, wasn't David Moyes the person that said, "Listen, all the best for the future, but we need to build for the future. Let's not look to the past." And what he's done is he's come out with that comment by saying the past. Now, the comment itself makes sense, but you can say that shit right back at the start.
You can say like 2 weeks to go,
but not with fucking not nearly 1 year on, and then suddenly you go right, okay. Because I'm telling you what, right, I don't want to be fucking creating shit from nothing. I don't need to know because that's created shit from itself. But if I'm Alvarez, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, mate?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying they'll hear it. I probably will, but you can't do that. You can't say that. And then you can't say that you think you're going to be defensive. And we're too positive and then play defensive. Do you know what, Russ? That's a really interesting. I'm so glad you've brought that up, right? Because over the years in the Premier League, we have been a conceding footballing team.
Yeah.
Right? We've always had to rely heavily on outscoring our opposition to get points on the table. And I know that's how football works, but we always were guaranteed, on average, to concede nearly every game. That was just a no fucking brainer when it comes to West Ham. And people forget the last season at Upton Park, which was only 51. I thought we conceded more.
No, 15, 16. Now, we ended up quite well. It was a good season.
But it's still a lot, though. Still a lot to concede.
I mean, it's probably it's not. It's about third or fourth best. But the fact is, it's the goals, it's the score. I mean, the fact is, and the reason why I put this up is, we've now equalled our worst, which was Avram Grant the season we went down 2011-12. With 2 games left to spare, and also it's a detriment to the Premier League. How the fuck are we still like in the top half when we've conceded almost the fourth? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's really dire times if you think about all the results that you brought up earlier on, the 5-0s, the 5-2s, all that sort of stuff. And we're the whipping boys.
That's 7 times this season that we've conceded. And obviously, I appreciate Liverpool's in the cup, but we'll say 6 times in the league we've conceded more than 4 goals. I think I read a tweet from somewhere that's the first time it's happened in our entire Premier League history.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's true, but it wouldn't surprise me. We're
the whipping boys, man, of the Premier League. And do you know what though? Genuinely, like when you look at that team, I remember looking at the team, and I didn't see the stream today. I didn't see your stream or anything like that. And I saw the team, and I immediately went, oh, because I just looked at just the 2 centre backs, and I thought, Bonanza. I was like, oh my god! And it's Cole Palmer. He's on fire. He's 22. He's banging in goals. He's going to have an absolute field day. Conor Gallagher, who I think he's actually been a kind of solid performer for Chelsea this year, even though they've not been playing fantastically well. He's going to rip us apart. He's got the energy. Captain material. In my head, I'm going, they've got players that need confidence. Jackson hasn't been a great signing for them. Bang, what happens? He fucking turns up against West Ham and he does that. But defensively, Russ, you just got to look at the first goal, the way that Ogbonna tries to kind of get, or Zuma or someone tries to get down and head it really low. And then it's like they're on their back foot. And we've said it all along, we're lacking that kind of Craig Dawson-ish on the front foot to just fucking lump that ball away. And I know
me, that's the detriment. That's when we started going downhill.
Yeah, I mean, we done that show the other night about who we should keep and who we should sell. Well, that's what we were talking about. That's what we were talking about, is that front foot. But what I can't understand is defensively, it's a calamity. It's really bad. But if you play a low block, you need to be like the old school Italian 1990s defenders, like the Maldinis of the world and all that sort of shit. Like, you need to be able to play ball, and
you've got to be clever. You've got to be clever
and defend. And we've got. It baffles me, and unfortunately, it's tainting things. I don't think. Listen, right. This is where I'm at when it comes to the Luton game. We're at home. If we get beat at Luton, it will taint it. No, if we get beat at home against Luton, it will taint it. If we win reasonably convincingly, I think most people will respect what David Moyes and say thank you very much. Now it's time to leave, as we all, I'm now there. I have been there for a little while. I think you have as well, Russ. But it's time to move on. It's time for us to progress. But that's ridiculous. That's another disgusting performance. I've seen. You've probably seen highlights of fans putting up videos of parts of play from different angles, and Paqueta runs and dribbles through three players. In the most. But then he doesn't look up, and then he just plays a ball into the box, and no one's fucking there.
I think the trouble is, I think it was a. I mean, the performance was poor. 2 or 3 of their goals was literally one pass, literally cut from the centre back, literally cut through everyone. It was a poor game. But what I wanted to talk about was a tweet that Fabrizio Romano literally as the game. Well, yeah, it was as the game finished. He put a tweet out saying West Ham have already decided to part ways with Moyes, and that was before the game. And what was interesting phrase for me was, and the plan remains clear for next season.
Yeah, but do you know what?
How can that be clear if we're still talking to managers?
But this is what I don't understand. I don't, unless we've got some unofficial agreement with, say, someone that we don't know, or Amorim or something like that. Lopetegui's the easy one for us to converse with, because he's not in a job right now. That's what confuses me about the Lopetegui thing, because I don't understand how the ownership and think that what they're doing right now helps anything, because it's not just what they're doing now, it's everything that they're doing. It's the people they're connected to, it's the messages they're putting out via the media outlets that give a very confusing message to the fans. The fans then get in an absolute rut, or a form of hysteria, and we then lead ourselves up a fucking garden path.
Which is what we did with Amorim, didn't we? Really?
Yeah. And I mean, if Amorim was to happen, I mean,
it ain't gonna happen.
No, but the point I'm trying to make is, if Amorim was to happen, it would go against all the odds of West Ham owners, our current West Ham owners. So when you're linked to the highest quality of coach, and I'm not disrespecting Lopetegui, because I think it's harsh.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right.
People are digging him out like that.
No. I think then people are digging him out, but actually they're not. But it's anyone but Amorim. I think if Fonseca came in, which he's, to be honest, I think West Ham not only been the whipping boys of the Premier League this year, we've been the whipping boys of all the managerial candidates as well, because Amorim played us like a fiddle to try and get the Liverpool job, and that hasn't worked. Fonseca apparently has played us like a fiddle, and he's going to get the AC Milan job. AC Milan have played the fiddle, thinking, and now Lopetegui's agents, who obviously are associated with Salthouse, as we know. Now there's a story coming out that Bayern Munich are interested in Lopetegui, which is bollocks. It's just trying to get this deal done. That's what they're trying to do, and
But it doesn't
we're
make
like
sense. It
idiots.
doesn't add
Doesn't
up.
make
We
sense.
do look, and that's the thing, though. Like, we've had these conversations in the West Ham Network group chat, and you know, people were saying that these owners aren't good businessmen. But the thing is, they are,
They
because
are
they've made millions,
yeah,
right?
and
But
we
they're
know that
not.
they're not football people.
Yeah.
The issue is from a business perspective. It's about maintaining your, and again, we are not. I'm not saying I agree with this strategy, but what they're doing is they budget for 11th every year. David Moyes is the type of manager who would give you 11th every year. He would do.
Absolutely. Well,
Same as
yeah, absolutely.
Lopetegui. Lopetegui will come in and he will give you 11th. He's not gonna dramatically change. He'll bring in a few players. He'll get a bounce, as I said to
But
you.
Russ, this is the key part, though. That's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine. People may or may not accept it, but communicate with the fans. The
No,
fans
you're
need
right.
a
Yeah,
form of
yeah.
communication. We've lacked it since they came in, and the communication that they give us is false and shit and
Mm,
pisses people off. And they've
mm.
never learned from that message of
I
non-communication.
don't
They
think we've
don't.
ever been good. I mean, even looking before, with you think of like the Bond scheme and Terry Brown and
They've
Michael
not. No,
Tabor
no.
takeover.
Yeah,
They've never been good, and it's frustrating when you see how other clubs deal with it. So you look
but
at Bayern Munich,
but
how
I
they
think.
dealt with it.
Yeah, no. I agree with you in that. But there's a but with Sullivan in particular, because Sullivan had the opportunity to be good. Because I think we could have got behind someone like Sullivan, whether or not we've moved, we're in the London Stadium. But I think people would have got behind them if there was a bit of element of real, true real
Mm,
honesty behind the man in terms of what you're trying to achieve with the club. Like, there's never been a form of element of truth, from my opinion. The way he's conducted his business, the way that the rumors come out, the way that they communicate, the way they throw people under the bus, the way they try and sign players over the managers, over the
mm,
coach, all that sort of stuff, the way they speak out after the day after winning a bloody tournament, all that sort of stuff, just the way that they conduct themselves, the way that the fans feel when you go to games, you travel week in and week out, you spend all the money you do, you get smashed, and you don't ever get slightly rewarded. And it's not just about that, but you need recognition. You need recognition as fans. You need to be reminded that you are the reason why you exist. And I understand the world's going corporate, but it's not there. We're not there. We're still
no,
trying to hold on to that
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
And fair play, that's what they're maybe trying to. I'm not saying they're trying to hold on. I don't think they are trying to hold on to it. I think they are pushing the corporate, but we can't get there
mm,
because I think it's their lack of football knowledge. That I think you need that football knowledge and success on the field in order for you to fully go corporate, if that makes any sense. That's why I suppose you could say the Tottenham experience has become so corporate, because Daniel Levy, as much as he's pumped money into the club, he's ran up a high level of debt, but he's gone back. Because at some point now, I just want to be solidly in the top four. Like, no matter what, I'm happily, you said, Russ, West Ham need to accept 11th. And it's like in Levy's head, he'll accept 4th.
mm. No, I didn't say we accept that. That's what
No,
the
I
board.
know, but
That's
that's
what
the
the board
plan.
plans
Yeah.
to, and that's what they've always done. What we've been, what Sean's mentioned many a time. It just seems that there's. I mean, in terms of the latest news that we're led to be believed. Obviously, it does. We know that Steinton and Noble favour Amorim as an appointment. We know that Sullivan favours Lopetegui as an appointment. Apparently, as a sweetener, if Lopetegui does sign, um, Sullivan has told Steinton that he'll give him complete control of recruitment, which is what I thought we already had anyway.
But it's fucking
So
ridiculous, because if that
yeah.
is true, it's honestly, utterly, like, I would be, if that is true, I would
Mm.
be fucking livid. I would be absolutely livid. It's I mean, I'm struggling for words, because I could go mental right now at just even
Mm.
that statement, something like that, and the fact that that's normal to them. Stay out of the fucking football business. And there's
But
no
he
ifs or
never
buts
has.
about it. No, but
Never
the
has, never
problem is,
will.
even when he says he does, we know he's not. We're not stupid. So stay out of it. Stay actually fucking out of it. In actual fact, people are constantly pointing the finger at David Moyes. And that's fine. And it has been shit. And I don't agree with what he said recently. But you're right, Russ. He has told us from day dot, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to do. You may fucking hate me for saying that, but I'm only telling you what it says on the tin. That you go to a shop, you buy Heinz baked beans, it says on the tin what you're going to get, and you get it. And when you go to the shop and you look at David Moyes, you're going to get what you're going to get. That's simple as that. We know it, right? So there's no point in us getting so fucking hit up about that situation. The situation is, it comes from the undermining of our fucking owners because they've been there, done that wore a t-shirt, and they never learn from the lesson, and they don't deal with the right situation at the right time. And I feel like the fans would have accepted change and droppage of performance as long, yeah, there's a risk of relegation, all that sort of stuff. I get that, but what I suppose, what is it, mediocre? Like, what are we?
Mediocrity, yeah. I mean, it's about you know.
Are
I
we going to
mean,
go 40 years again without a fucking trophy? Like, I don't want that.
yeah, but things we've
Right
done it.
now,
That's the trouble, isn't it? You're right. I know exactly what you mean. I think the. I mean, if you look at, I mean, I think we are highly expectant for Lopetegui to be the next head coach at West Ham. I think that's there's but by what we're reading, he's a proposal's been given which is going to make him the highest paid manager in West Ham's history. That's not really surprising because every year, because your money value goes up anyway. So, I mean, in terms of the man himself, I mean, I'm sure people will know about him. In terms of his club record, he was at Wolves for a little time. I spoke to Dave from Talking Wolves about his time at Wolves. Obviously, he was only there for 6 months, really. But, it obviously went a bit sour. Showed a bit of integrity in terms of deciding to leave the Wolves when they wouldn't buy the players he wanted to buy. So, where's that going to lead us? Down the garden path in a year, 18 months' time? Who knows? Obviously, Sevilla, we played against him. A Sevilla side which won consecutive Europa League trophies, 2 or 3 in a year, wasn't it? Something like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Real Madrid, obviously, he left after a short amount of time, and then obviously Porto was sort of his first appointment. On top of that, which is a point I made to Gary Killington, he was youth team manager. He was involved in the Spanish youth team setup for several years. Assistant of under 17s, manager of 18s, 19s, 20s, and 21s during his time. So he's worked with kids. I'm just trying to, because I think we've put this. Oh my God, Lopetegui he's not. If I put Amarin as an option or Lopetegui, 98% of West Ham fans would go for the shiny one in terms of Moyes because we would do because he's what we want. But the chances are we're going to end up with that 2%, and we're going to so. And talking to Dave, he was saying, asking about his involvement because I was, he's old and he's not going to involve the youth. He wasn't reluctant to play the youth. I mean, he was only there for 30 odd games, but at Wolves, but he wasn't reluctant to play the youth at all. But the thing is, by the time he turned up, all the decent Wolves players who were kids already were already loaned out. So he had the scraps.
Yeah.
It's an underwhelming. I think it's by what I mean, not just a West Ham fan. I'm just looking at some of the comments about Lopetegui and Man City fans are saying it's quite underwhelming for West Ham, and it is probably an underwhelming appointment. And as I said to you on the group chat, if we do get him, there will be a bounce because there always is 99 times a new manager.
Yeah, but again, whether there's a bounce or not, nobody fucking knows, right?
No.
If we get whoever comes in has got big changes to make, and to just judge someone solely on his record's actually not that bad. So
No.
People are talking about the low block and all that sort of stuff, and I mean you can't get any more low block than what David Moyes is doing.
No, exactly.
And right now we still don't know what's happening anyway because it is all up in the air. And honestly, by the time you watch this show, there's strong possibility another fucking manager's name will come up, right? That's just the nature of West Ham. But I've said it from day dot. I'm flabbergasted. Do you know what? Russ, I genuinely am gutted that we're not going to be in Europe next year. And I don't. Do you know how you've got a fan base that some of them said it'll be all right for us not to be in Europe next year? Nah, man. I have fucking loved our journey.
Yeah.
It's been so much fun. I've loved taking Freddie to games. I've loved picking up scarves. I've loved looking at the lights. I've loved listening to music. I've loved the vibe around the Thursday kickoffs. Yeah, okay, it might have a detriment effect into our Premier League form, but I've loved it and I want it back, and I want that back 100%.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, I mean, when we did our shag marry avoid for the squad, it was clear that there was a massive. We all know it's not no sort of hidden factor. The rebuild job, not being in Europe next year, does give us a chance to work on improving the Premier League squad and the domestic squad, and then hopefully, again, this is just hopeful, and if buts and maybes, a decent season next year under a new head coach could get us back into Europe, and then that summer would be spent preparing for Europe. We've never really, I think last year the Conference League to me was at a level where we could work with our current squad, and still, Fornal still got 50 games last season. You know what I mean? And he was very much a squad player, 25 starts, 25 subs. And most of those starts were within the conference games. So there was enough quality to do that. This year, I think in Europa League and in the previous year in the Europa League we were in, the lack of squad quality comes to fruition quite, towards the latter stages of the Europa League competition, which it probably didn't to the conference. So that could give us a 2-year plan, and obviously by the time we get to the 25-26 summer transfer window, obviously then we could be having the spending cap in, so we could actually, it's probably worth doing as much of the building this summer, because next year we might have a cap. So it's one of those things. I'm just concerned that we haven't got that with someone like Lopetegui. What are we going to get? 3 years out of him?
Do
you know what I mean?
I don't know. I feel like I'm taking a lot of things with a pinch of salt right now when it comes to West Ham. All I know is, I want change, and I'll hold my hands up. Listen, I don't mind saying it, and I'm happy still to say it. In my opinion, he deserved the benefit of the doubt. In my opinion, he deserved. When we made the decision that we were sticking with Moyes last year, if he went, I backed it. If he stayed, I backed it. That's where I was at. Yeah. So I gave it a shot, and the European form potentially could have taken over. If we'd progressed, then I could have possibly forgiven some. I probably wouldn't have forgiven some of the results, actually. That's a lie. I wouldn't have forgiven some of the results. But it's not happened anyway, and it's just now dwindling out. I'm actually really devastated about no European football, and and I'm not worried about the rebuild. I'm quite excited about the rebuild in a roundabout way. I just want to know who's going to be in charge and potentially what their kind of philosophy is. That's I think a key thing for us, Russ, isn't it? As West Ham fans, we want
that's a really good point. I mean, the fact is, if we are led to believe in terms of, and again, what we're led to believe in terms of how the org chart is working, it'll be working next season. It will be Tim Steindon, probably Lopetegui, and that's how. So, Lopetegui would report to Tim Steindon. Tim is in charge of all football, which again is a bit of a hyperbole or not hyperbole, but a bit crazy to think that you're not being trusted with picking your. The boss can't pick who reports to him, but his boss's boss does it. It's very, very confusing. So I think it's about, and someone I read, I think it was on, someone's stream, might be Jazzy or someone I was watching, and they said, someone like Steindon in charge doing recruitment, and someone like Lopetegui just managing, just head coaching the first team might not be a bad thing. And I tell you for why, because of this comment by Craig Dawson. A person we all respect, Craig Dawson. I remember it was a tough game, but one thing that stood out most was the coach talking about Lopetegui, he stood right on the sideline and felt like another player. You could feel his passion, his love for the game was there, and that was something he mentioned to me when I signed a few days ago. You could really feel his passion for the game, and hopefully we can see that. We've had a few conversations, even just training with a few days, but you can tell he's a top coach, and I can't wait to get down to business and keep working with him. By all accounts, he's a very good manager in terms of Lopetegui. And as a head coach, that's your top job, is to make sure you have got a bond with your players. Whether they're players that Tim Steinem brings in, quite possibly, but you've got a bond. And although it seems no Lopetegui and all that type of stuff, I think if we look at it from a, I don't know, best case scenario perspective, he's someone we need. We need someone who's going to bring the squad together, because that team on Sunday did not look like a team. A team looked like 11 individuals.
Yeah. Do you know what? I hadn't played FIFA for years. I'm talking double-digit years. And in the last couple of months, we got ourselves an Xbox. Just, just to play around with the little man and all that sort of stuff. So we downloaded EA Sports, which is called now. And the thing is, when you play it, depends, like when you put West Ham in, when you play West Ham, like when you're actually, I know it sounds ridiculous what I'm about to say, but it's when you're trying to make a sub and you're looking at a sub spec, you're like, fucking hell, like who do you want to put on? But the game is clever because it slows down West Ham and speeds up, say, like Man City. And then it's Man City pepper in the West Ham goal, and you can't get anywhere near them. And I watched that game today, and honestly, it was like a game of EA Sports. It was like West Ham. And the thing was, the gaps between West Ham, say Conor Gallagher had the ball from 30 yards out. No one was near him. No one was even within like 2 yards of him. I think the closest person to him was like 10 yards away. And if I was Conor Gallagher, I would have just kept, or someone who's got a bit of a shot on him, just kept pinging that ball. And it really reminded me of, like, I was watching an interactive computer game of kids playing, and the stats of the thing say his paces outpaced Sufal. Like, it's so frustrating to watch us right now. And people will turn around to me and say, I've seen it in the comments. I don't know if you've seen them, Russ, but people have pinpointed some to me saying, Anton, I've been telling you that for 2 seasons. I'm not saying you haven't. I know you've been telling me that for 2 seasons. But what you weren't happy with 2 seasons ago, I justified by the European form. That's what I was happy with. That's what I wanted.
Get that. Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
So to take that memory from me was absolutely well worth the shitness. What I have now done is I've caught up, because now that shitness is still there, but nothing else is happening. Our expectations our expectations have been risen. Absolutely. And I do not want to go. I don't want to be mediocre and playing shit again. I can't. I don't want to do that, Russ. I don't want to be 10th. I always remember looking at league table, and it would always be like West Ham played 38, won 14, lost 14, drew 14, something like that. So it was always West Ham that had equal amounts of fucking everything. And then you'd look at all the other teams above you, and they would always win more than they would lose more. And it's just becoming that. I don't want to go back to that again. I don't want that. I'm done with that. I am.
Yeah, I get exactly what you mean. I think and I think you're right. I think, when people go, "Oh, I told you," but I told you this 2 years. Or I told you. At the end of the day, it could have easily gone the other way. It could have gone the other way, and then you have all the boys in saying they told the old boys out. So I told you so. I agree what you said in terms of justification. There was a justification in terms of last year we had a shit season. We won a cup for the first time. I think Irish Tommy said it. Yeah, even when you're even when you're starving, a piece of bread looks like a gourmet meal or something like that. But it was our gourmet meal, and it was our, as you said, you went down to Freddie to Stratford. You'll always have those memories, and that's what football's about. Yeah, it's about memories. Yeah. It's not about, do you remember that time we drew 0-0 with Leeds? No, it's not. It's about specific memories, and that's what football is like, particularly for a team like West Ham. We're never going to win the Premier League, and so it's about those memories are few and far between. The likes of City and that lot, they can win 2 trophies and be a shit season because they haven't won 3. We're not that way inclined. I think the trouble is, and that's the trouble with always the way David Moyes has played, is because being the low block, it is all about the result. There's nothing to fall back on. So if we do, say we lost 3-0 today playing expansive football, we still lost, but people have said, "Oh, but we had 20 goals." There was some justification. There's no justification with today with yesterday's result.
Yeah, the thing is though, with this, as we know, with this squad, even if you do give it a go, I think over the season we'd maybe be a couple of positions better off, but with the lack of squad depth was
definitely
was clear to see. And that's what pisses me off about David Moyes. Going back to David Moyes for a second, his comments after the game, he said, I've actually got it here. He said, people want us to play our best players, which we're trying to do, but it's exposing other areas of the pitch. So what I don't like about that comment is it's a very David Sullivan comment. That's a very David Sullivan comment, not a David Moyes comment. It's a little bit like what David Moyes is technically saying is going, you, the fans, want me to play our best players, but we're exposing areas that I know we're exposing, but I'm doing it because you're telling me to do it.
Yeah.
And that's a David Sullivan comment. And that's a David Moyes fucking interview.
Yeah,
and don't tell us that. Do your fucking job.
It is, yeah. I know what you mean. And it is a David, but it's always to me like David Moyes justifying his team selection. So it is because he is, as we know, if anyone of you got the Mark Noble book, he talks about he is risk adverse. If Moyes could have done it, he would have played JWP today, and probably not played Paqueta or someone like that, and put another midfielder and just and maybe fucking if Calvin Phillips was a fit, he'd have thrown him on as well. That would be his wet dream, to have played 6 midfielders, and just do nothing and just respect the point. And that's where it boils down to. The fact is, he's never going to be any different. So I don't know whether the last 1,000 games he's always been risk adverse, and we're risk averse as a club as well. So he won't. That's why we won't get Ruben Amorim. I just cannot see it.
Well, not under our ownership. I can't.
No.
I genuinely can't. I'm like, I just can't. I don't know what they did to get him even to into conversations. I really don't know what they did, and whether or not Amorim, whatever. Like, the fact that West Ham had a conversation with the man has confused the fucking living daylights out of me. But maybe that's the Tim effect. I don't know. But the next statement that David Moyes said after that was, the manager will always be the one who gets questioned and asked about what you do in these situations. But this is the same team that played against Liverpool last week and drew 2 each. But you're not getting the point. And this is the thing that frustrates me. I'm not a manager. I am not a thing. But when you look at all the top teams, the utilisation of the squad, and you look at, for example, Brighton, who aren't playing that well. Here you go. I'll bring Brighton into the equation because I've had Brighton thrown at me all fucking season. I've had De Zerbi thrown at me all fucking season. I've had Emery thrown at me all fucking season. I've had this and that thrown at me all season. But let's look at De Zerbi and look at Brighton, right? They utilise their squad.
They do.
They utilise their squad. It's not worked for them this year. I think European football's impacted them this year.
Yeah.
And that's had a knock-on effect, selling their best players. And their role in this footballing universe is to sell for massive profits, take risks in lower leagues, and find diamonds in the rough. And they've had a monumental injury list, which hasn't helped the situation. But there you go. That's that situation. Emery, okay, new ball game. But do not fucking tell me if Emery comes to West Ham are different. Because West Ham are not Aston Villa. West Ham do not get backed to the same level as what Aston Villa do. Now, don't turn around to me and start bringing in £500 million over the last couple of years. They've got one player sits on the bench and his name's Kamara, and they pay him £175,000 a week.
Yeah, and there's a reason, because he was going to go to he was going to go to, I think it might have been Atletico Madrid or someone like that, and he was all set to go there, and then basically Villa doubled his money. Same with Diego Carlos as well. Carlos, he was going to do the same.
So there is a vast difference between the two clubs, and I don't think Emery comes to a club like West Ham genuinely under our ownership. I don't think Amorim comes to a club like West Ham under our ownership, which is what's holding us back. Genuinely, it's holding us back. And people always say, "Do you want to buy success?" Nah, I don't know. I fucking wouldn't mind a little bit of fucking success regularly, but would it give up our soul? No, I don't want to give up our soul. Of course not. But I can't help but think, Russ, we're kind of, it's like these guys are, because they're trying to step into that world, Russ, aren't they? Let's be brutally honest, they are. They're trying to be into the big boy world now, like the big top level zillionaire, whatever it is. Like
It's champagne. It's champagne dreams with prosecco money or
yeah,
Asti money. That's what it seems. We want to look like that, and that's why we brought in Tim, and we've dabbled. But for Tim to cook, he needs to have all the ingredients.
mm,
It doesn't seem like he's like just give him a fucking air fryer rather than a fucking Arga. You know, he's halfway there. They've backed him to some extent, as I said, bringing in his brother as head of international recruitment, bringing in Maximilian Khan. I mean, Maximilian Khan, he is one of the best analytical people in the world. You know, so that's no mean feat. So, but they haven't gone full hog. They haven't gone full hog. It's like they're still got the training wheels on Tim.
yeah.
They won't take those training
But
wheels
that's
off. And until they do
and
that,
that's
we won't move on.
yeah, no, and I think if the thing we have to remember is, you know, the fact that Sullivan is close to some of the the reporters and puts stories out, you know, it's not it's wrong that it's coming from him. It's not right, and
But
it
then,
sends a really
let's
clear
be honest,
message.
Tim does the same. Tim
No,
does the same.
I don't. No. Listen, I can imagine that there's people all over the world that do the same. I can
Yeah.
imagine that. But we've been the problem we've got is we've been caught out so many times with it.
Mm.
We've been caught out in the wrong way. It's so bad that we're constantly caught out by, it's like you see a specific article come out and you're like, oh well, David Sullivan's sent that in.
Yeah.
Or and there's a way to do it in a professional manner, and there's a way to do it in an unprofessional manner, and ours always get caught out. And people always say to me, "What's your example of that?" And I'll bring up, it's an old one, but I'll bring it up because it's fucking worthwhile. Because he aired his problems, and it was the William Carvalho one. I bring it up all the time. The mannerism and how we try to do business with that by interfering at that level, and what he did with that email was honestly one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen.
Mm.
And no wonder they turned around and went, "Who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
You absolute dickhead!" Like literally, without saying it like that.
Well,
And
there's been lots of situations like that, hasn't there? I think it's you get that situation where there's been things like that, and you think with the appointment of Tim, that would have detracted all of that because he would. But it seems that they can't. The board just can't let go. They just can't let go. I mean, I was looking at the Brighton stuff you were saying about the squad rotation. Brighton have played 29 different players this season in the Premier League. We've had 21 or 22.
but I think, and there's a clear difference between. I looked at that previously, and there's a clear difference in the amount of players that have got upwards of like over 15 appearances.
Yeah, quite
Of
yeah.
their 29 players, there's a majority of them have quite a lot, double figure appearances, and a lot of them are starts or obviously substitute appearances, but chunky minutes in comparison to West Ham. You've said 21, but there's a low number that have got really chunky numbers.
Well, I think it's for the West Ham lot. I mean, it's I think you almost want to look at because burnout is an issue. It's clear we have got a lot of players who are running on fumes, who aren't built to run on fumes. So just look at that quickly. 1, 2. I'm just going to go over 25 league appearances. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10, 11. We've had 11 players with over 25 appearances in the Premier League this season. Just look at someone like Brighton, because that's a good impact comparison.
The number I think I found, that the kind of common denominator number I found when I done West Ham Brighton was 15. I think it was either 14, 15 or 16. And I think when you look at our numbers at that, you see that we're dramatically lower than the 15 number.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've had I think 12. They've had 10 over 25 or plus appearances. But yeah, you could have looked. I mean, minutes played, all those. Yeah, we've done that before.
But if you look at the 15 plus, honestly, that's where the vast difference is. So that's where you then utilize your squad, because if you're using Russ, if you're using 8 more players for 15 more games, than your opposition, then you're
Yeah.
not going to get burnt out even at
Yeah.
15
Yeah.
games.
Yeah.
So
It's
that's
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It's the you want to. I mean, I've done this before. We've looked at the number of minutes played, and we had something ridiculous in terms of how many players have played over. Like it was at the time 3,000 minutes or something so far, and we were by far one of the worst. I think Liverpool were quite high up as well, but then they had a massive injury crisis. Yeah, it's something which. Whether we see any sort of information over the next week before the Luton Town game, I do not know. I do not know. I'm sure there'll be more.
I, I, this is what we need, right? But this is what we won't get. We need to get a communication that Moyes will be leaving the club, so we can put the right things in place. That we can expect the right things in place for Luton, right? That's how I think it should go. Whether or not we know what manager's going to be, I don't know. But the things need to be put in place so we know that's not what's going to happen. And then what's going to happen is if we potentially go 1-0 down, 2-0, lose the game 2-1 or whatever it is, then it just creates a bad. I don't think Burnley, I just think shit. It's just shit.
Oh, it will be awful. Yeah.
It will be awful. And I think that's what, there's too many aligned messaging coming out of the club now by saying that Moyes is going. And I'm getting bored of that now. And I know we're talking about it, but like actually just come out and officially tell us. And I think it's the right time with 2 games to go, with nothing else to fight for. With your last home game, Russ, there's an opportunity to make a really bad, crappy feeling situation more of a memorable situation, but put a little bit of excitement in
Well,
fans.
there's an opportunity to go out these next 2 games. Obviously, in the Man City game, we sort of it's Man City's. We're going to get turned over, but the Luton Town game, it gives us an opportunity to go into the summer with some hope and optimism, which, to be honest, most West Ham fans don't have at the moment.
No.
It's almost been, we say the players have been on the beach. I feel like a lot of fans have been on the beach as well for the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks. Not sort of like in terms of have stopped caring,
Yeah.
have stopped caring about the game.
Absolutely. But
You
mate,
can,
it was. I think it was after that. The Newcastle game was a really massive game for us to be
yeah,
in cruise control, and then to just and that took the stuffing out of me. That took the stuffing out of the players in the park. And after that, I mean, I don't know what I'm trying to look at the last results. Actually, I wonder if that's where it really fucking kicked in. I'm just actually looking at it now just to remember when was that? Newcastle 4-3. So we drew with Aston Villa. We beat Freiburg, drew with Burnley, got beat Freiburg. So Newcastle 4-3. Then we drew with Tottenham, beat Wolves, but unconvincingly. Yeah.
and that's what I think we need coming into the Luton game. Is the Luton game's opportunity to give the fan base something to look forward to, or have some sort of closure, so to speak, because Luton are going to Luton are no mugs. Luton are going to try and win the game. They're fighting for their lives. So, but we've got the opportunity to do something, and as you said, it's something you want to see, but you won't see. You see the likes of Stad Rem. Them and Will still have party company. We've still a couple of games in Liga to go. We had in January Thomas Tuchel and Bayern Munich coming out saying he was leaving at the end of the season. They still had fucking half a season. They're still in the Champions League, semis at the moment. But in January they said he was leaving. There was a decision made. It seems we never make a decision until the last. It's almost like we're backed into a corner, and then we make a decision. And that's the really frustrating thing. As I said, in the summer last year, we had the opportunity. We had 3 options on the table, and the worst option was picked. Let Moyes run out his contracts. And this is where we are now because of that. This could have been avoided at the beginning of beginning of the summer. In terms of how that was handled, in terms of David Moyes' situation. You back him or you sack him then. Now we're in a situation because of that. Uncertainty with the fans, uncertainty with the players, uncertainty with the coaching staff, uncertainty with the academy. In terms of those boys who want to know who's going to be the next manager before they sign new agreements. You
But
know,
to
they've
allow
got
that situation to happen, though, to have so many players, it's mind boggling, to be honest with you.
is.
But the only thing that keeps me any form of sane when it comes to West Ham is that Tim Steidten hangs about. It's the only thing. It really is making me.
And why is Tim still here? Do you know what I mean? Because he's been undermined so much.
Yeah, but has he? I know we think we know,
We
but
think you're
has
right. Yeah,
he?
you're right. Yeah, you're right.
It does come down to that. It literally does come down to that. We don't actually really
No.
100% know. You know, we create situations ourselves from.
I mean,
Just
Moyes
by
has
doing
thrown
what
him
we.
under the bus a couple of times in press conferences.
Yeah, yeah,
And now all this shit about him being mutually separated, he can't come to the. You know, if that was me, I'd be like, "Fuck this."
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Is it worth it?
Yeah,
So
but maybe
clearly,
he's not.
he's still
But
there.
maybe he's. That's what I mean. So maybe that's what I'm trying to say. So
Yeah, no, I get it.
that's the saving grace for me. You know, if Steiden has goals or had gone, I would be like, oh fuck. But they must have. There must be a plan. There must be a fucking plan, Russ. And I bet you any money nobody knows. And I bet you it's not what we think it is. Even though we're thinking it is. It just might not be. It might not be, though. It just genuinely
We
might
don't
not
know.
be. But you know what? If it is Lopetegui, who's to say fucking Steiden hasn't chosen him? Because we're hearing. No, I'm just saying though. But who is to say that?
Yeah, behave.
Yeah, but who? But
It's,
I mean,
it's you know, it's yeah. I mean, it's clear that it's clear the decision that's been is you know in terms of you know the two. It's clear that there's one is by one party and one is by two party. You know, in terms of and because we know the MO of Tim Steiner, we know how he likes to operate. Lopetegui would not fit that initial MO. Now that being said, as you said, he apparently, according to reports, really impressed Sullivan. That might be because he's free and he's available.
Fuck if he's impressed Sullivan, though.
But
I couldn't care a single
but
ounce of interest.
unfortunately, he's the one who makes the decision.
Yeah, but I don't care. That's the point. That's the problem.
That's what I mean.
That's the problem. I couldn't care less.
Change.
Do you know what? If he's impressed him, I don't want him. There you go. That's the way I feel. That's the only way I feel. Like it's true. If that player's impressed me, well, don't sign him then. That's the only way I feel. Do the opposite. Do the fucking opposite to what Sullivan wants. That's the way I feel. What opposite day, opposite season. Opposite Sullivan's at.
That's something my daughter would say.
It's true, though.
Day, Daddy.
It's opposite today, fucking Sullivan.
It's opposite Dave.
Just stop and leave it alone. And I can picture Russ. I can fucking picture. I can see his smug face on whufc.com. I can picture the statement already. I feel like I might write the statement that he'll write. I feel it'll be like, Chairman David Sullivan is delighted by the appointment. Yeah, the minute I met Julen, he came to the house and he gave me his plan, and we felt like it was going to work under this. And then his next one will be, and you know, we listened to fans' opinion, and you wanted a different style of play, so we felt this was the right time to do it. It's always hidden by another agenda of going, you the fans.
What would be interesting? Do you know what would have been interesting if the roles were reversed and Ruben Amorim was available on a free transfer and Lopetegui was currently at club? Would Sully push the button and get Ruben Amorim in because he's free? He wouldn't. He wouldn't. I'll tell you why I wouldn't, because there's been no. If Amorim comes in with Tim Steiner in charge of recruitment, there's no one involved there with Salthouse. There's no in. Sullivan has no in that situation. So he always wants to keep some sort of advisor in there. So that's why this has been apparently been dealt with by Salthouse rather than Tim Steiner, which seems ridiculous if that's true. But that's what reports have said. But yeah.
honestly, it's
That's Anton's take on it.
it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating, and
It
I
is
know
frustrating,
everyone.
and
I know,
I'd be
I know
frustrated.
everyone feels the same. I know everyone
Yeah, we're
feels the
all
same.
frustrated, regardless of what and I keep what's side of the fence you're on. We're all West Ham fans. We're all frustrated. We're all in this limbo. Yeah, we're assuming that David Moyes is gone in the summer.
I,
But the thing is,
I
until
don't even.
there's that
I
statement,
don't even
until
know.
there's a go on.
I don't look at social media as much as probably the next person does, right? But I always hear this kind of other side of the fence. So I do think there's an element that even if there are people that are Moyes in, there's a wind up merchants
Oh
vibe.
yeah, both
As
sides.
there's
Yeah.
a wind up merchant vibe, the other side. I do think the majority are ready to see Moyes out, right? I do think the majority are now ready to see Moyes out, but that's me basing that upon how I feel watching West Ham get smashed 5-0 on a regular occasion this season, because it's been a lot this season, right? So I'm judging it on the basis of that. What I'm always against, and I've always been against, is wishing the man death, wishing the man,
Yeah, yeah.
illnesses and utter fucking dross abuse that the man has received. I am absolutely dead against that, and that's not what I'm all about. So I think what's happened is you've got this social media battle of going blah 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 blah, and some people just will wind up on the basis of going, well, you can't fucking say that, and I'm like, well, that's true, but I don't know many people who could sit here now. We could invite on and could give us a massively great argument towards saying, well, I think we should give David Moyes the role next year. I think that would be a tough argument to fight.
Yeah.
Absolutely willing to listen, and hear why anyone would have that opinion. But I just don't. I wouldn't get it. It doesn't make sense. However, what does make sense, Russ, is if David Moyes does stay, well, we know what we're going to get under the current ownership, because I fear whoever we fucking get on our ownership doesn't work. I'm because Sullivan does not fucking back away. We get Amarim. Are you telling me Sullivan backs away?
No. Well, I think the trouble is if Rubin did come in, it would pretty much give him no in.
Yeah,
There
but
would
would
be
he?
no
But
in.
that's what I'm. But
So
yeah,
that's why it won't happen.
it won't happen. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the point. So ridiculous, ridiculous situation. We're going to be in this boat for a while, I think, until things dramatically change, and I don't know how they'll change, when they'll change.
They'll change before the 3rd of June. That's the date we've been given.
I'm sorry, I'm
That's
talking about the top
obviously.
level.
Oh well, that won't. Yeah, I mean that won't be changed. That won't, I don't think that will change. I don't think you'll see that level of change for a long time. The spending cap does give you a bit more leeway at the moment. For if you're looking at the moment, what the way PSR and FFP is. I mean, you look at the debacle with Everton and the 777 at the moment. They're still hanging on, waiting for them to all happen, which isn't going to happen. There's no incentive for a investor to come in and take over a club now. You look at
But there's
Newcastle.
clubs out there that,
Newcastle on paper are the richest club in the world, but they will have to sell Isaac or Gomes to actually invest.
Yeah,
That makes no sense at all. Under the new, go on.
Yeah. No. Sorry, I don't know. I'm just saying "but" out loud because I'm just like fucking angry.
But what I was going to say was, under the proposed changes, it would give the possibility of someone to come in and have a go, so to speak, and invest some money, as long as it is within 85% of the revenue generated and below £500 million. They still haven't ratified that figure. So, but until that situation happens, I just don't think. I think you're always going to have this sort of halfway house, and that's where I see we are as a club at the moment. We're in a halfway house. We aspire to be this, but we're realistically in that sort of. Our league is 6 to 10. That's my league, 6 to 11, 6 to 12, and sometimes you have and 9 times out of 10 you're pushing in that top sort of midway to top half of that league, and then you might have a random season where a couple of the bigger boys don't do what they usually do, and then you could push into fifth. You could push into that, but we've had those opportunities in the last few years, which we never capitalised on. And it'll be a while until those happen, because the likes of City will carry on spending. Liverpool will spend big because of Arne Slot coming in. Newcastle will probably put some money in because they'll probably just sneak into the Europa League spots or the conference spot. United will bring in a new manager probably and spend. Chelsea will continue spending, particularly if they're in Europe. So, the Arsenal will carry on as well. So, the golf's going to get bigger in this season, unless you carry on.
Do you know what? Maybe the bigger plan, maybe the bigger picture is West Ham are going to sign Ange Postecoglou at the end of the season, because the Spurs fans are fucking losing the will to live.
You would be as well if you've lost
four in the trot. I've given up, the situation, but Ange out's trending all over the internet, and their fans it's madness, man. And maybe that's the bigger picture, Russ. Could you fucking imagine? Could you actually imagine? Holy shit, man!
Honestly. But that's the thing, and we all remember the beginning of the season after 5 games they were, doing the whole raise the fans when they're top of the league, and now it looks like they're probably not going to get Champions League now. Because definitely going to get it, because we're not going to get 5th place. So 4th place is going to be Champions League. And to be honest, Villa should have sealed that today. They should have, they could have sealed that if they'd, because in terms of how the results happened on Sunday. Look, anything's possible. Anything's possible with that, but it's incredible to see the decline of how poorly they've been playing. I mean, if Spurs lost and if Aston Villa had won that game on Sunday, they would have been in the Champions League next year.
Yeah.
But still, they've got to try and overturn a 4-2 deficit against Olympiacos in the semi-finals of the Europa Conference League.
Yeah.
I think 55 minutes of moaning is enough for us for the morning.
Mate, fuck me.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our therapy session. We may well be back at lunchtime to continue this therapy session. You never know.
It would be like this for a little while until we get I just want direction. I want guidance. I want to know what's happening. It's just so frustrating.
We're not going to get any of it. We know it. The thing is, I know we want it, or we want some club statement of some description. We want the corner flag with a description of what's happening, but we know it's not going to happen until the last possible date. Obviously, for anyone, anyone obviously who's financed their season ticket, they'd have already that deadline's finished for renewals. But the next is the 3rd of June, and that apparently by then there will be clarity in terms of what's happening next season.
Absolutely. Well, one thing for your references, I've not renewed yet, so I am one of those mugs that pay into a season ticket every single season, and I've not renewed, and I am late in my renewal. So I'm usually I am late in my renewal.
And is the reason, because I think this is important, is the reason from a football's perspective or a cost of living perspective as well? Because there's a lot of money in it.
I think I'm just holding off. I think I'm probably going to renew.
Yeah,
I am going to renew. I just think I'm maybe letting the club know, which defeats the purpose. I don't know, Russ.
Because I think also because there is definitely a tributation, if that's a word I've just made up, in terms of the season ticket renewal not being as sharp as people want it to be. Part of that is definitely uncertainty with the management, but also I think part of it is about the cost of living as well. It's a lot of money, and it's gone up, and and I think people are trying to trying to spread their money as best they can, and I think obviously, where you might have, if you were getting entertaining football and, really exciting football, you might have pushed it a little bit up the priority list maybe than you previously would do now, for example. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's something I'm definitely going to do. It's just, it's just.
But if you do want to save some money, 25% off alloy collectors, West Ham Network, WHN 25. Anton still will give it to his son. Poor Freddie's been looking at that.
Do you know what? We've not had a moment. We've literally not had a moment to actually sit and do it. So we'll do it tomorrow. Bank holiday.
Do it tomorrow. Do it to a bank holiday. Excellent. Yeah. All right then, guys. Well, for me and Anton, take care. Stay safe. Stay warm. Stay humble. Enjoy your bank holiday. For those who are just in the UK, if you're not in the UK, sorry, back to work. And until next time, Toodle pip, one and all. Much love. Come with you bloody irons.
Irons.
Iron!